through the multicultural conversation we began as a church a few weeks ago. Well, it didn't begin then. There was just an intensifying of it. We want to be whatever kind of church you want us to be. We look in the New Testament and we see things there that point us in some directions. We also see a lot of diversity among the different churches, not only within those churches, but among the different churches in the New Testament. Just help us to be open to wherever you choose to lead Oliver Creek. Bless us this morning. Thanks for the people that are here, and once again, give us a sense of your presence with us as we go through not only this hour, but through our lives. It's through Christ we pray. Amen. Here's what I wanted to do first is, since it's been a while and we've all slept since then, what do you pull forward? What do you remember from the 5 or 6 weeks that we called Missions and Multicultural Month? What are some of the events or just images or whatever? What are some of the things you remember about that? I'm going to put MMM up here for Missions and Multicultural Month. Tell me some of the things maybe you were at or participated in or made an impression on you, just whatever. We'll just gather some things here, make a list.
Anything that the Madhu said was pretty profound to me. So.
Okay. So,
Another M.
Another M, yeah.
Medusa rocks.
do you remember the old, this dates me, you guys will not. You may not even. Oh boy. When E.F. Hutton speaks, do you remember
People listen.
when E.F. Hutton speaks, it was like the old, brokerage firm E.F. Hutton, and, a guy would be in a restaurant, well, my broker's E.F. Hutton, and everyone goes, so when Emmanuel and Pam speak, everybody stops. That's good. All right, what else we got?
The meals, whether it's surprise.
Who's coming to dinner?
Yeah, who's coming to dinner?
All right, guess who's coming to dinner? That was pretty cool. How many of you had a chance to participate in one of the Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? All right, cool. That was a lot of fun. My understanding is, spoiler alert, that's going to come back. I'm going to keep that going on a regular basis. I'm excited about that because that's a lot of fun. Give me something else. Anything else?
The Wednesday panel.
The Wednesday panels. Yeah. That was really cool. There were some profound things said at some of those. Just people's insights and sharing their experiences. That was really good. That was enjoyable. Give me something else that was part of the month.
Brother Thomas being here.
Yeah.
Jews and Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
Was he for or against? No. I really had never really thought in terms. I'd always had a suspicion I was a Gentile, but but the whole thing that it's a bunch of Gentiles arguing amongst themselves who's the best Gentile. I thought that was cool. It was kind of an interesting way to put it. Anything else that you remember?
Little video series of each area of the groups, our mission team.
Okay, yeah.
That reminds me too. I think it was something Emmanuel said, but it was like, can anyone tell me the names
Yeah.
of our missionaries? And it was just like, I think we got one. I was like,
I know, that was kind of a cringeworthy moment, wasn't it? But very instructive, wasn't it? Because of course, we can all, Are you all coming here, or are you looking for Landon?
Kind of came in with Landon, we know where he went.
Oh, well.
He came in late like
So,
this.
our missionaries are Alexander and
Yeah.
Valerie, and Edward, and some other people. All right. No, but that's kind of cringeworthy, And I wondered at the time, and I'm just throwing this out for, I wondered at the time, is it that there's not a lot said, or is it that we kind of have diversified so much that we have so many that it's hard to keep up. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying, you know, because I know one church that we were at, you know, everybody knew the Davids and the Hintons, you know, Poland and Argentina, because we just chose to put the focus in those areas. But yeah, there is a bunch, you know, so it is hard to mention.
Did you say Davidoff? Did you
Mhm.
say Davidoff?
Mhm.
You know, there's a family here in Memphis.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Just one-
So, you know, which means just proves it's a small world.
It does.
Anything else that you remember about the events or anything else that you thought was important about missions and multicultural month?
I'll just say something, kind of from the overview stuff. We cannot be all things to all people, and I just think that we need to be nice to everybody. I may have said this already, but treat everybody right, but it does not. I don't think that multiculturalism means like when we have, or if you went to a black church and they sing with a lot more, I don't know exactly how, but it doesn't mean that we need to change to that, but it doesn't hurt if we did. But I'm just saying,
Right.
we can't be everything. I've already said kind of that to Emmanuel anyway, because we were in a small group. But,
You don't know what you just said.
I know, I didn't know what I said, but I said, well, we're in a
Just
small.
agree,
I
just
said-
agree, sure, yeah.
I feel, Emmanuel, I feel as a brother in Christ, it would be wrong for me to withhold from you what was said not in your presence. Yeah, I hate to do this in front of other people, you know. No, actually, when I asked people what they remembered about the Missions and Multicultural Month, one of the things was that everything Emmanuel and Pam said rocked. So, you know, good on you. All right. So, nothing bad, only good. So we've got kind of a, you know, I don't think we covered everything. There were some other things that happened. You know, Steve Clore came in, talked about his experience with the church in Fort Worth where he was at. In a sense, I'll just put Steve up here. He had Everett coming in, give us kind of an overview of Acts. Emmanuel, I will let you tell Pam she rocks. Okay, so we'll do that. Yeah, you can tell her that a little bit later.
Nigeria's Independence Day is today, so.
Oh, is it?
Oh, is it?
Oh, is it? Well, very nice.
Okay.
And pardon my ignorance, so I'm just gonna go ahead and ask, from what date and what was the event that Nigeria would say, boom, from this moment on we were,
Well, we got away from the phone.
When?
1960.
1960? Okay.
60, yeah.
60, okay. Just, I was curious, because when I was first paying attention to stuff, unfortunately, one of the things that I remember, one of the first world events kind of I remember was the Civil War
Yeah.
in Nigeria. Yeah. And that was kind of tough going. So, you know, Everett took us through some of the material in Acts. Some days I write English, 2 days not one of them. So, take all that, just a turn and talk, you know, conversation partner. What of the events, whether they're listed on here or not, what of that month, what kind of stuck in your mind the most? Take about 30 seconds with a conversation partner. What stuck in your mind most from that 5 weeks or so? You can start anytime you want as long as it's now.
I'd say, especially if you really gonna try to limit Sharon's conversation to 30 seconds.
I know what I mean.
the microcosm is great. Stuff like, yeah, I think it's really kids.
5 seconds.
Unfortunately, a lot of buyers kind of pay
All right, if we can pull it back together.
Yeah, all I was saying, you know, I'm more long term, I have to watch my card.
As much as I hate to cut that off, you know, I've also been told, leave people wanting more. So, here's what I'd like for you to do. You can use the same conversation partner, or if that conversation was boring, you can find another one, you know. But I'd like for you to take a little bit longer, and then we'll gather some information from this. But the next one, what do you think is meant when we say Oliver Creek could be a multicultural church? What do you think is meant by that? Again, just a little, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes on this one, but with a conversation partner, what do you think is meant by that? What comes to your mind? What are the words or images or whatever that comes to your mind when you know, someone is saying, hey, you know, Oliver Creek could be a multicultural church? All right, I'm going to turn you loose again. You can start anytime you want, as long as it's now.
I want to be a listener, so. I just spoke the whole time during the last session. He was like, yeah, that was fun. Great conversation.
He gets to go first.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I don't know, I mean, I missed him. But I think with this statement, there is good
What is it? That's got nothing to do with that.
there's room for improvement. I think we can all agree on that, but I don't know what the changes would need to be to make it.
Well, I think so.
No, we just didn't miss
Got about 30 more seconds.
We weren't from Turkey. We made the Turkish dish.
All right. If we can kind of pull it back together a little bit. So, when you hear Oliver Creek, at least potentially referred to as a multicultural church, what does that sound like in your head? Give me some ideas that come to mind when you hear that.
Sensitivity to other cultures that are not young.
Sensitivity to other cultures. Okay.
You got it.
I know. Don't! No.
It's enough.
You're good.
It's okay to bring it.
You're good.
With the other cultural norms. That's more what I was thinking, sorry.
Okay. And I just want to say that in my culture, we spell sensitivity with a hieroglyph in the middle, just like that. Okay, all right. What else? What else do we have?
I was telling group that, when I think of multicultural, I'm thinking of a lot of ethnicities, but in my daughter's school, they threw like this luncheon type deal, and they had different, and then what they did to bridge the gap, they had each group, or each parent or whatever, they had each parent to bring in like a dish, and that allowed opportunity to engage, so, which was real cool. So, and then to be honest, I didn't know Lakeland had a lot of other groups. I was just thinking, you know, white, blacks, but from going to that event, I discovered it was a whole range, and it was a very beautiful thing because, I mean, we saw Africans, we saw all kind of different groups, and then you can feel the positive energy that we was engaging. You would think it'll be separate, but it just worked.
Yeah.
So when I think of that, I think of, you know, nurturing that part of the cultures.
You talk about other groups. This was something that was actually mentioned. I can't remember now if Steve Clore or J.C. Thomas mentioned it, but I knew it, and that should give you a clue. The largest concentration of Kurdish people living in the United States is where? Nashville. Yeah. Nashville, Tennessee. You know, who knew? You know, apparently there are only slightly more country music people now than Kurds. It's very, very close. So, cultures colliding. No, but you know, I knew that because when I first started teaching at Lipscomb Academy, one of my students was Kurdish, and she was like, "Well, Mr. York, we're the largest ethnic minority. You know, the largest group of Kurds in the United States is in Nashville." And I was like, "Get out of here!" You know, no, it was like you don't think about that.
I would have guessed Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin?
Okay.
No, those are the cheese Kurds. Okay, so that's it. Yeah. All right.
Hilarious.
What else? Yeah, it was a setup. I love it. He's good. He's really good. All right. What else? What else do we?
Listening, the word listening, and I heard somebody say it over there too, I think. I was listening. But I think just the fact that we had the Multicultural Month, and I'm echoing how much the Wednesday panel taught me that I didn't know. And I think that needs to be an ongoing, if we just do it the one time and then never again, then it really isn't. You know, but yeah, that's just a big part of it.
I think that's the key. It's irrespective of how many different, what the racial mix-up is. You know, how many black people here, how many white people, Latinos, and what have you. Irrespective of that, do we practice these things? I like the way Steve summarized the practical application. Meet people of difference on their turf. Practice humble learning. Find ways to identify with people of difference and practice listening. When those are practices that we engage in, when that becomes who we are, that's when we're a multicultural church.
Read that list one more time, because that was a very good thing.
Meet people of difference on their turf. Practice humble learning. Find ways to identify with people of difference. And practice listening.
In fact, we were going to refer to that list, I don't think next week after next, but it's already out there. I mean, that's a great list back there. So we're coming back to that. That's good stuff.
We said almost what most people said on the board there. We wanted to emphasize more on there are certain things we will not be able to see when we become multicultural, because it will be a hard issue. The idea of waiting for us to look multicultural would be almost like in the early, was it 60s, when they integrated schools. They looked integrated and multicultural, but yet in the hearts of the students and the people, they were still divided.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a battle of the heart, where if each of us takes stock on how our hearts are now transformed multiculturally to where we're more engaging, accepting, and sensitive, the look will come later on. But we've worshipped in the church where they were diverse, yet in our hearts, in their hearts, we still felt there was a lot of division.
Yeah, that's really good insight. You know, that it's got to be something that happens in our hearts first. I refer you back to the first list we had about what the Medus say is gold. Okay. No, that's very good. So multicultural church is maybe less about demographics first, as about hearts first. The demographics will take care of themselves. You know, I'm just throwing that out. I don't know that I want to die on that hill, but there may be something worth thinking about there.
I was just saying in our little, this is the most, I think, diverse congregation I've ever been a part of. When you think about all the different Chinese, I don't know if I'd ever gone to church with Chinese before. I think I told you at some point, some of you anyway, in Illinois, the congregation, we had a lady and her daughter. They were black, and they chose to come to us rather than go to the congregation that was predominantly black. We love those people. I mean, anyway, and then, okay, so we have Chinese, African, Argentinian, we have, what else? Yeah, Venezuela. Anyway, I'm just saying, that's quite a few here to me for 300 people. Maybe I'm wrong. Or what do you think? What do you guys think?
That brings us to an interesting question, which no one brought up, and that's fine. Maybe you thought it, and that's fine. Maybe you didn't think it, and that's fine. I'm trying to, be sensitive to, anyway. The whole idea of does multicultural mean there's a multiplicity of cultures represented and accepted and fully engaged, or does it mean, you hear this thrown out a lot in these kind of conversations, that we need to mirror the community we're a part of? Or is it a both and?
I'm gonna give you my, when I
Yeah.
first came, when I was just visiting other congregations, the first thing I look for when I go to a, dump white or whatnot, for me to tell if it's multicultural, I always look at what the leadership is, because it's almost like I've been to a lot of congregations where, well, yeah, there's a couple blacks here, Hispanic, Chinese, but it's not represented in the leadership. So I'm thinking they just feel like me, that it's just passing through. It sort of helps when you reflect it in the leadership. So I mean, like when I went to Milton for a minute, they had some elders, African American elders, that was up in the forefront, not just behind the scenes where, they not looking the part, but at least they had the reflection. And that sort of helps draw me in, because that's, to be honest, that's what drew me into Millington when I was looking around, because I saw it. Then I saw other, coaches too. So I was like, wow, that's the first thing I told my wife, hey, we gotta try to see what this congregation is about. But when I came here, I didn't see it, so I was like, well, okay, they pretty good, but I don't feel, I'm just being honest. That's just
Absolutely, and thank you for being honest, because that's something that a lot of times you don't think about if you are automatically seeing someone who looks like you in leadership role. I remember when we had discussions similar to this, we were in Indianapolis, and one of the black women in the group we were talking about, she said something that just really, I took to heart, because as a white male oppressor, I had never had to think about this. But she said, every time I walk in a room, I look around for someone like me.
Now, I can say this too, what brought me back here was I visited the second time, then I saw, I still don't know the guy's name, I saw African-American male, and he was up teaching the Sunday school class.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, okay, you know, so that brought me back. But
Yeah.
if it wasn't for me seeing that, I don't think I would have been coming back.
Sure.
All of this.
Sure. And I think that's something that many of us do not think about, you know, and it's a, please don't hear this in a pejorative sense, but it's a matter of ignorance. I don't know what I don't know, you know, and that's something that until she said that, I'd never thought about that in my life. And so, I appreciate you bringing out that. Would multicultural then, in that sense, means that someone could walk in and find something to identify with? Would that be where we cross the threshold into multicultural? Okay, I saw a hand here, and then Emmanuel.
I think that first point is critical. I'm obviously a white man. I'm obviously have an accent. I'm obviously from a small town. The church I grew up, backwoods, conservative. There's nobody except people like me, you know. But then I went to different cities, and I saw different types of church, more liberal, more conservative, and I'm in this place and this place. And I think the theme that makes a church multicultural, a place where people from multiple different backgrounds can grow, is an open-mindedness and a willingness, you know. Like, I've been to some, we'll call them white churches, where they're not very open, you know. It's like, this is the way we do it, this is how it's gonna be done. And then I've been to other so-called white churches that are like, oh, well, that's an interesting point that you make. We haven't thought about that before. And so I think that first point is critical. And, you know, to the point of like different representations and things, that's also important, but I do think that those things will fall into play if our hearts are in the right place.
Okay, we keep coming back to that. I like that. I think there's so many of these things have to do with the. Oh, let me pull out a preach phrase. The heart of the matter is the matter of the heart.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Thank you. That was the first thing they taught us in preacher training. All right, all right, Emmanuel.
I was going to comment on what Harvey said. In as much as I wouldn't, I would say yes, the looks of being in leadership matters. But I don't want us to make the same mistakes the politicians do, where whenever there's a riot or people protesting of racial disparity, they think the solution is just to throw a black man in a position of authority will solve the problem.
They can
Let's
be the
move
one that
on.
speaks in front of the
Then
cameras.
you put somebody to
Yeah.
say, okay, what else will solve the problem? As a person of color, we think it's important, but it's not necessarily if you put somebody like me there that matters. It's somebody that protects our interests, which can be done even if you put someone that doesn't look like me. Because you can put somebody, an African American, in a leadership position, yet they don't address the needs of the minority that you have there. And I speak to the elders here. Yes, they don't have any minority among the leadership, but they've done so much more than many churches that do in terms of minority issues, from talking during Juneteenth to the build the bridge, the more. So if I'm given a choice, we'll prefer if you have a minority person in leadership that does that, but I'd rather have what they do now than just put somebody.
But a token black person, just to
that
look
doesn't-
minority.
Which, again,
I
just
think I
keeps
agree with what you're saying.
bringing us back here.
Yes.
What's the heart of the congregation as a whole? What's the heart of the leadership? Yeah, I think there's something important to what Harvey says.
That's true.
But, you know, not everyone is gonna have the wisdom he had to go, okay, I'm gonna come again. I'm gonna see what's going on, you know, what's below the surface. we could, continue on this. I want to make sure we got time to do one other thing, which we may not even get to our scripture
Great,
lesson
just
today.
real quickly,
Yeah.
a couple of thoughts I had. So it's a great conversation. I think this is, ultimately, the heart is where it begins. As I said earlier, if you've got a green field for changing how we practice our Christianity,
Do you want one?
then, that's a good thing. I think what Brother Thomas spoke to as well is how leadership can kind of prepare that field,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I, I think it starts with the elders to the points that we just made. This is about being authentic and saying, we really want to go here.
Right.
And I don't know what that looks like and how we get there, but we really want to go there. We just want to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. So it starts there, and then it's about creating those bridges and identifying leaders that can be a part of that. I don't care where they come from. And to me, what you said earlier, at the end of the day, what a multicultural church looks like, I don't know, but it's not up to me. I kind of view that as sort of the increase that God provides. He gives us the tools to kind of set the playing field, and then we follow His will, and then He does what He wants to do through the Spirit. And that's the way I think about it. What that ultimately looks like here at Oliver Creek, I have no idea. But if I think if we do that and let Him, figure out where we need to be, then we're in a good place.
I think that's spot on. So, it's a matter of the heart first, and that heart needs to have a Jesus focus.
Yeah.
If I'm sold out to doing what Jesus wants me to do, then I'm going to be led
Yeah.
in the directions I need to be led in.
And that's not going to be easy. As
No,
Cole said, it's going to be
doesn't mean it's
messy. It's going to be scary. It's going to be uncomfortable. But that's how we grow.
And just suffice to say, before, I want to turn you loose on this kind of survey thing. If you need a pen, I have some. Anyone need one? But if you do answer those 4 questions, the 4th one might not be you might not necessarily need I don't know if that one works or not. You might not need one. Everyone else got. And do not put your name on it unless you really believe. No, unless you just feel compelled to. This can be completely unanimous.
Can we think on it and turn it back in?
That's an option if you want to think about it. But I was also just kind of collecting initial thoughts. But if you want to think about it, I will go ahead and play this card. You'll get the same. You'll get the same survey. Week 5. Just to see. But so I'm happy for you if you want to take a little bit of time and think through it and turn it back in timely fashion, like not week 5, but after the sermon. In the second service. Yeah, so you got something to do.
I have something to do in case you're bored.
Right, that's right. In case? Whoa. It's not what you've been saying. And as you're writing, just thinking, in my mind, purpose for this class is we want to continue the conversation. Don't want to let that conversation drop, because the easiest thing in the world to do is for us to sort ourselves out. That's just, and I think unless there's certain things that are brought to our attention on a regular basis, that's just what we're going to do. That's just reality. That's human nature. So, my goal is for us to continue thinking about something, and hopefully at the end of the month, we'll walk out with some sense of, okay, this is how we can be helping Oliver Creek have the heart that's going to be open to being a multicultural church, whatever that ends up looking like. But our heart's going to be in the right place. Does that make sense? I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. I'm not gonna look at it because I know that's yours.
Turn your papers, I did that.
That bell is the most interesting bell. It always makes me think, you know, forgot what the restaurant was when I was growing up in Louisville. That was like, there's an order. Order up. Same kind of bell. So that's why I start salivating, like Pavlov's dog, every time I hear that.
Went to Michael Emmons. Never been.
My high school reunion was there last night.
Really?
I wasn't, but that's where it was, you know. It was the it's reunion.
The 10th, there's the 10th, Big 10.
They showed pictures, and I was going, who are all these old people?
Yeah, there's two. I'll just shuffle them and then.
Yeah, if you'll shuffle them, you know, or tear them in two and take them back together in a different way.
Have a match.
This is-
Chairman too.
All right, before the next bell rings and I salivate some more, as you're finishing those up, just wanted to throw this out, that when we talk about multicultural, and I think there is a desire, I hear that desire in this room for us to be, at the very least, have hearts that are open to being a place where there's engagement that creates that energy. There's listening to others, trying to meet people on their turf, sensitivity to other cultures and cultural norms, where the interests of anyone who comes here, their ultimate interest is going to be protected. This is not to say anything other than, here's where we are, or maybe better, here's where we were 12 months ago. Not sure exactly when discernment team did all their demographic work. But here's what the congregational profile, and again, probably about 60 to 65% of members participated, which is pretty good. You can extrapolate from that. You know, Gallup would love that. We are just under, the typical Oliver Creek member is just under 92% white, closer to 50 than 40, married, no kids at home, and let's just be honest, does that match our community?
No.
Does that match Bartlett? Does that match Greater Memphis? Does that match Tennessee? Does that match the United States? Does that match the world? One of the interesting things is that matches, as best when people kind of put these kind of data together, such as they do in our tribe. That's kind of difficult, but as best we can tell, that is almost the typical Church of Christ profile, except that instead of being closer to 50 than 40, it would be closer to 70 than 60. So kind of interesting. Not necessarily saying, please don't misunderstand, not necessarily saying that to be a multicultural church, we have to perfectly reflect the demographics of our community and, oh, I'm sorry, we can't have, you know, one more
Yes.
you know, person from, you know, whatever, and, because that messes up our demographics. And that's not what we're saying at all. You know, that's not the point, but the point is, right now, this is not necessarily a bad demographic, that's just a snapshot of where we are. When this becomes a bad demographic is when we say, that's who else is welcome here. You know, we're looking for someone who's just under 92% white, you know, and closer to 50 than 40, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If that's what we say, then, you know, that was not meant as a dig in
Yeah.
any way, shape, or form.
She's only got a week left.
Is a few days away.
40
I mean,
or
50,
40.
I'm offended.
So
at what
you're
saying.
closer to 50 than 40, but you brought that up, not me. Anyway, all right. So, just saying.
That part about the no kids living at home sounds amazing.
It is.
Let me tell you, when I was closer to 50 than 40, I'm going, I've still got 10 years, you know. All right, so, but that was called late start. Next week, what we were going to do in our last 5 minutes here today. So we'll start next week with Mark 11, 12 through 24, because there's actually something here that I think is apropos to our conversation. So we'll start with that next week. If you've completed your survey, your little survey point, you can just leave them on the table here, if you would, in that pile there. If you need to think about it some more, you are welcome to do that, but Wednesday, would that be too much to ask? Do I have a chance to look at them and, you know, kind of work through whatever emotions I feel? You know, that way have a chance to maybe, you know, have something put together that then we can compare with when we get towards the end. Because don't want Bible classes just happen to happen. I want them to be something that make us think and maybe even, I don't know, change our way of thinking and acting. What a novel thought. All right. Did I hear the second bell? If not, I should have.
Yes.
So you guys are, I noticed I was salivating. All right, so you guys have a great rest of the day. Thanks for being here.